Hello, welcome to my channel, Kojex Consult, Edu, and ICT. I remain Ernest Adebayo Okoje, also known as the IELTS Terminator. Today, we shall be looking at IELTS Speaking. IELTS Speaking, to me, is the easiest of the four, that is, the reading, listening, writing, and speaking. The speaking lasts for only about 15 minutes and it's also actually scored over 9. And there are 3 sections of this speaking. The section 1, section 2, and section 3. The section 1 is known as the interview, while the section 2 is known as the long turn. And section 3 is known as discussion. And that section 3 is the hardest because it brings what I'll call academic topic for discussion. Something like, they may ask you, how does gift giving improves a country's GDP? Some people may never know what GDP is, not to talk of how gift actually does that, or how does gift giving boost a country's economy. So as a result of that, people need to actually practice a lot of questions to be able to. So the section 3 requires you to practice enough. And like I said, IELTS has limited number of questions from the pool of questions. So it means that if you practice enough, you'll be able to actually come across something very similar to what you've practiced. And I'll be dropping in the description section of this video, I'll be dropping, links to some online resources and some sites where you can actually get lots of questions. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share this video at the end of this video. You also need to help our channel grow. So, having looked at the 3 sections of the speaking, now we shall be looking at the skills required, and the do's and don'ts to actually be able to ace your IELTS speaking, to score between 7 and 8 in your IELTS. So, first, now we are looking at the parameters by which your speaking test is assessed. The first one is pronunciation. Number 2 is lexical resources. Number 3 is coherence and fluency. And then number 4 is language. Now, we shall look at each of them one after the other. Now, for the pronunciation, the major problem we have in pronunciation is the fact that our indigenous languages do not usually have more than between 20 and 30 speech sounds. But the English language has 44. And so some sounds in English language are not in our indigenous languages. As a result of that, we speak by approximation. That is, we try to approximate. So for instance now, if I want to pronounce the word cloth, which is pronounced as cloth, because there is no th in our indigenous language, we pronounce it as t. So we'll now say cloth. So when I want to pronounce with, WITH, which is the same theta sound, we'll pronounce as t. So we'll say tit, or we'll say with instead of with. So as a result of that, we often have a problem in pronunciation. And there's one particular exam known as the Duolingo exam. And in that, PT exam, Pearson Test of English. In Pearson Test of English, under the speaking section, you'll see that people who are second language users, especially people like from Nigeria and all of that, will usually score 0 under pronunciation. But IELTS does not break it down like that. IELTS will just tell you what you scored in your speaking and all of that. But they, apart from telling you that you scored maybe this also amount of score in your speaking, they would also break it down into individual subsections. And in your subsection of pronunciation, many Nigerians score just 2, 3, or 0 over, I think, over 90 or thereabouts. So you understand how important it is for you to pronounce words correctly. So when you pronounce a word like W-O-R-K, it's pronounced work, not walk. So what I also say is that fluency is very important. So if trying to pronounce correctly may affect your fluency, then just focus on your fluency and leave your pronunciation. So if you say I walk and you say and the cloth, it's still better than for you to now be saying so the cloth and work. It's you're not speaking fast and all of that is affecting fluency, and fluency will bring about coherence. Because if you're not fluent, then sometimes people will not understand, and if there's a problem with coherence, then your speaking score will be very, very low. So that's that. Try to know your pronunciation, but not at the expense of your fluency and coherence. Then the next one is your lexical resources. What do you mean by lexical resources? When you say lexis of a language, the words of a language, so the lexical resources refers to the words of a particular language that you have at your disposal. So, and then you don't have to know big words like flabbergasted, inundated, and all those words. Just knowing simple words also counts, but you should have a range of vocabulary. That is, so if I say something like I like rice, and I also like beans, but because my father likes swallow, I also like eba. You just use the word like is a problem. IELTS will say in your marking comment, in your examiner's comment, they'll say that you exhibited limited range of vocabulary. So why not say something like I like rice, I'm also cool with eba. Sometimes I prefer rice, other times I gravitate towards maybe yam, something like that. When you're actually talking about maybe the kinds of food you like, you are using different words, then that is showing a good range of vocabulary, because for those basic words you need to know how to actually use a range of them. And in another lecture I will be examining examiner's comments on writing, and I'll treat some of all these things, and it will also help you even in your speaking also, because some of those things also apply to speaking. So in another of my video, watch out for the video, I will be treating an actual writing exercise, and the way IELTS commented on it. I will treat IELTS comments, and then that way you have an idea that you have to be conscious of all this marking guide. And then the next aspect is your coherence and fluency. If it's a writing we're dealing with, we'll call it coherence and cohesion. But for this one that we are dealing with coherence and fluency. So what's coherence? Coherence is ability to be able to answer the question correctly. So if they're asking you to talk about your experience in the market and you're not talking about your experience in church, you're still talking about experience, but the experience is not the market experience, then you are lacking coherence. No matter how well you speak your English and all of that, you've not answered the question correctly. So you're going to lose substantial amounts of marks on that alone. And then fluency is your ability to speak uninterrupted, just like I'm doing now. No, but if I were to speak Yoruba for you, or even my own language, Isham, you see the way I'll be stuttering, stopping, trying to get words. All those will say that the person lacks fluency. So fluency is your ability to speak uninterrupted and just move on. But that does not mean you won't use some filler words like all those things. It does not stop you. Obama even does it, but you should have limited amount of it. That's why it's good to have a lot of practice, so that when you come across questions, you just be able to flow easily. And the last one is the language. The language, when for those of us who wrote WAEC, you will see that they will say mechanical accuracy, grammar. Most Nigerians score 0 there, because there is no how you will make grammatical errors in terms of either using present tense when you're supposed to use past tense, or using plural when you're supposed to use singular, and all that. We do it a lot. Sometimes you'll be reporting something in the past and you are quoting what the person has said. You are now saying, for instance, I say Chinua Achebe rejected award of national honor because he said that things are bad, and things were not as bad as they are now. Look at that thing I just said. Now he said because things are bad, instead of because I'm reporting Chinua Achebe, I would have said because he said things were bad. I now said because he said things are bad, because actually he would have said things are bad though. So at times we get caught up trying to quote instead of report, because at that time we are not actually quoting, we are reporting him, and all reports should be in the past or past participle. So I would have said Chinua Achebe actually rejected the national award because he said that things are bad, or because he said that things were bad. because I'm reporting what he said that time, and then I will now move on to my own comment on it to say that, and things were not as bad as they are now, because I'm referring to now again, so I'll use you see. So and then you need to be able to actually flow between present and past depending on the information you are passing across. But many people often make mistakes and they use present where they're supposed to use past, and past where they're supposed to use present, or use singular where they're supposed to use plural, or plural where they're supposed to use singular. And IELTS doesn't play with this. If you add s to where you're not supposed to add s, it will penalize you, and if you don't add s where you're supposed to add s, they will penalize you. So those are the 4 parameters, but it goes beyond that. Now, how do you actually tackle IELTS speaking? And today's class, I'm just doing an overall guide to IELTS. So I'm not actually being I'm not zooming in on certain aspect of IELTS speaking, and I will take time to actually do that. So this is just a general IELTS speaking class, and then after this I'll make subsequent videos where I'll actually come and focus on, one video will be on focusing on the IELTS parameters, one video will be on focusing on IELTS do's and don'ts, one video will be on focusing on IELTS special skills that you need to actually score band 8 out of 9. So now, I haven't looked at the 4 parameters. I also want to look at what I actually call like a set, that actually helps you to do well in IELTS. After that, I will now move to individual skills required for different sections of the IELTS speaking, and then we'll look at the IELTS do's and don'ts. What I call the 3 enabling parameters are gotten from the 4 basic parameters, and I usually describe them in a set. So as you can see on the screen, we have 3 interlocking circles forming a set, and the first one is complex or complexity. The second one is fluency, and the last one is natural. So what do we mean by these 3? The first one is, let's look at the complex one. Now, what we mean by that is grammatical complexity. So you should try to have some form of complexity in your responses. So if they ask you, do you like your current work? You shouldn't just say, no, I don't like my current work, or no. But sometimes they don't want you to just pick words from the questions, as you can see when we'll be examining an examiner's comments. So you can say, but for the purpose of this, let's just address it like this. No, I don't like my current work. That is not sounding complex. That's a simple sentence. So why not give them grammatical complexity to say, well, I can't really say, but I don't think I like my work I do currently, and because, you see now, I've added because. So that because has made it to become a complex sentence. So I can say, because my boss is always overbearing, and that actually affects my mental balance at work. And that actually affects. So I've added another, it's not like a compound complex sentence, because I'm adding a coordinating conjunction and to add another sentence to the because, which is already added to the first sentence. So that's even a compound complex sentence. And so that's what we mean by sounding complex. So when you're speaking, you're not using if, you're not using when, you're not using because, you're not using and, but, or. Know that you are sounding simple. It's good to always start simple, but always mix it up. And you see that in IELTS examiner comment, they will say there is the speaker or the writer used a range of structures. When they're talking about structures, what they're basically talking about using simple, complex, compound, using active, passive, using direct, indirect speech. All those things are the things that they mean by a range of grammatical structure. So that is that. Try to sound complex. Then the second aspect they look at is how natural you sound. Do you know, because the fact that you would have practiced enough does not mean that when you now see a question that looks like what you've practiced before, you now start trying to regurgitate those things you practiced before. You remember how you spoke in class to your tutor, and you want to start doing that. You see that your speaking becomes a little bit mechanical and less spontaneous. And once there is no spontaneity, then you're not sounding natural. So that's what we mean by sounding natural. And then the last one is fluency. Once you're not sounding natural, it affects your fluency automatically. Or once you're trying to sound bombastic, trying to use what we call big words, it may affect your fluency. But the way I'm speaking now, you see that I'm just going on and on and on. If you're able to meet all of this, and you've taken care of your language grammatically, then you can easily score an 8 in your speaking. So that is on the parameters by which your speaking is assessed. Now we shall be looking at each of the speaking sections in the next video. Please remember to subscribe, remember to like this video and comment to help this channel grow.